Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Pat and I've been releasing coding tutorials regularly for the past 9 months. And in fact, I just uploaded my 100th video earlier this week. My goal for starting this channel is to show you how code can be used to create something creative, to provide you with the necessary tools, and also to hopefully inspire you to try it yourself. I'm still at a very early stage of my journey, but I have learned a thing or two. So in today's video, I want to share with you 5 lessons I've learned from creating over 100 coding tutorials. And my hope is that these lessons will inspire you to start your own journey, be it creative coding or not, because I believe that they're applicable for any new skill that you may want to pick up. Lesson number 1, just start and treat it as an experiment. If I didn't make the first video, I wouldn't be able to make the 100th video. With any new skills, I believe that the hardest part is getting started. I was committed to releasing 3 videos a week, but I didn't look too far ahead. I just did one at a time. I really didn't know what type of videos that you guys would enjoy watching and also what type of videos I would enjoy making. So I just didn't think too much and I just go for it. Each video gets different kinds of responses. Some videos get lower views but lots of likes and comments. Some videos get lots of views but the retention is worse, meaning that people don't watch until the end. Some videos, regardless of the numbers, I'm just super proud of myself for completing because it might be a topic that I found difficult initially and I'm able to overcome that difficulty, or it might be a topic that I have always been curious about. Whatever the outcome may be, my approach is to treat it as an experiment, see the responses from you guys as well as how I feel about the topic, and use that as a compass to decide what to do next. There's a great TED Talk by Mark Rober where he talks about the Super Mario effect. When you play a game of Mario and you fall into a pit, what comes to your mind? Oh my god, I'm such a failure. No, you would never think that, right? You would never treat it as a failure, but instead just a data point to figure out what moves to do or not do in the next round. When I treat what I'm doing as a game, it becomes much more fun. With this mindset, I'm able to create coding tutorials from a variety of different topics from all sorts of categories. And this not only allows me to attract different kinds of audiences, but also expand my creative coding repertoire and also improve my skills. And with this, it leads us to the next lesson, lesson number 2. It gets easier over time. Because I've been creating many types of coding projects, I'm constantly facing with different kinds of problems, both creative problems and technical problems. And they might be difficult at the beginning, but they do get easier over time. I am by no means an expert in JavaScript or P5.js or coding for that matter. I've learned a lot in the past few years and I'm continuing to learn every single day, but I can definitely say that I am much better now than I was a few years ago. Whatever you do often, it is inevitable that you will get better. If you look back at my earlier videos, the quality of the lighting is a bit darker, the pitch of my voice is a bit higher. I was not as confident back then. It took me way longer to produce a single video, but now, 100 coding tutorials in, I am much better because I do it every single day, multiple times a week. You do get better on things that you do often. But on top of that, you are also more confident on your skills and also your ability to tackle new problems. Why? It is because you have successfully tackled many problems before. When you start learning something, your circle of competence and confidence might be small. And that's okay, but as you put in the reps, then it starts to expand. My goal is to continue to expand this circle of mine so that I can continue to provide value for you guys, not only within the context of P5.js, but so much more. To do that successfully, I believe that I need to have a strong foundation on the things that are already in my circle. And that leads us to lesson number 3. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. This actually is a quote from Einstein, and I believe in it wholeheartedly. It suggests that if you can explain something in a way that is easy to understand, it means that you really get it. And on the flip side, if you struggle to do so, it might mean that you do not understand it well enough yet. And one way to really solidify your learnings is to explain a concept to someone or even to yourself. In the class CS50, the popular Introduction to Programming course by Harvard taught by David Malan, students are given these yellow rubber ducks to explain coding concepts to. as a way to really trying to understand some coding concepts that you might not understand well enough, or to debug the mistakes that you might have made in your code. And they actually call this process the rubber duck debugging. For me, thanks to you guys, I get to do it multiple times a week. And if I don't fully understand a concept, I think you guys would totally notice, because it would be very difficult or almost impossible for me to explain things clearly or simple enough for you to understand. A lot of you guys say that I explain things quite simply, and that is because, let's be honest, I was just a beginner not too long ago, so I know exactly how and what I want a concept to be explained when I was just starting out. So I always think about that path when I explain things in my video. I also think what is great about coding is that it is just a bunch of smaller pieces of concepts that when put together become this one big interesting piece. So with any concept, you can always break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces to understand, and once mastered, then put back together. And when I think about these concepts in this way, it becomes a lot more intuitive for me to understand and also to explain it simply in my videos. Lesson number 4. Be patient. Good things take time. If things don't click right away, that is okay. That is actually quite normal. About a year before I started making YouTube tutorials, I spent about an hour each night just coding away. And it took some time for things to click, but when it did, it felt like these jigsaw puzzles that come together quite naturally. At the beginning, you might feel like the daily efforts that you put in are not paying off, or that you're not going anywhere. But trust me, those small actions done frequently do add up. And before you know it, you're pretty good at the skills that you're working on. So trust the process, be disciplined, and allow the momentum to take its course. Don't overly focus on the daily outcomes. Give yourself time and evaluate how far you have come after an extended period of time. So here is the behind the scenes of my planning sheet that kept me accountable and let me focus on the process and the long-term vision. But to make these many videos, how do I come up with so many ideas? And that leads us to the last lesson, lesson number 5. Ideas come from everywhere. Lots of people ask me, where do I get my ideas from? And let me be frank here. Definitely some weeks are easier than others. It is actually difficult to always be inspired to create something all the time. But I do believe that you can always find ideas to work on. And you might even find yourself being inspired to create after you start working on an idea. Here's a list of places I usually go to find new ideas. The first one is traveling. I previously made a video where I talked about how I turned my ideas into code, and in that video, I was inspired to create a piece based on my trip to Korea. But you really don't have to go far. Sometimes all you need is to go outside. Personally, I just need to see something new, something fresh, and that is enough for my creative brain to get going, and that's how I find new ideas. The second one is actually from old projects. A lot of my projects are actually new ideas being built off of old ideas. When do you know that your project is in its final form? It usually isn't. There's always more that you can explore, and I usually use this as an opportunity for me to try something new or do something new. The third place is actually from my audience, you guys. I write a weekly newsletter where I update what I'm working on, sharing something interesting, and also getting feedback and ideas from you. Many of my videos, including a series on data visualization and sound, actually came from your suggestions. It is a great place for me to connect with you guys, so if you want to be a part of it, be sure to sign up in the link down below. And last but not least, I do get new ideas from other people's work. You don't always have to be original. In fact, it is difficult to be very original. I'm not telling you to plagiarize, but if the goal is to learn, you can always learn from recreating a piece that you love. I've done a few of those and I learned a lot from them. I usually try to put my own personal spin on it and also make sure to credit the artist accordingly. I do think that ideas come more easily the more skilled you are at what you do, and that is because you don't need much to work with. You can do more with less. Imagine an artist who has a lot of painting techniques. if that artist sees something and be inspired by that thing, it would be easier for that person to paint something beautiful than for someone who has completely no basics to see that exact same thing and to create something beautiful. So going back to the first few lessons, you want to just start and experiment. You want to practice a lot so you get better. You want to expand your circle of competence and confidence and get that basics down. And that way, ideas will come more easily to you. But most importantly, please be patient with yourself. I have a bonus lesson number 6. You don't know what you don't know, and that is exciting. I got some suggestions from you guys to do sound visualization. I never worked with sound before, but I thought that is an interesting combination, so I gave it a try. I didn't know what I wanted to make, so I went to the trusty search bar on YouTube and I found this video. And then I made this. And in the process, I learned about how to upload MP3 files, but where do I find these files? And then I found this website. And then I went through this whole process to get the MP3 files, and then I thought there must be an easier way. And then I found the P5 oscillator class, which I later realized was suggested by one of my viewers to make a tutorial on. So I learned about it and I figured there's so much more I can do with the sound library. So I started to explore further into other classes such as the P5 envelope. And by this point, I've already made 5 sound tutorials, and that is definitely not the end of it. There's still so much more room for me to explore, and I go where it excites me. And if this is no longer interesting, then I take a different path. This is just one example of how a simple idea or a thought can lead you to a territory that you never knew existed, and that is super exciting. So this leads me to what is next. Going back to my personal mission, I want to make coding accessible for all creative people. So I will continue to make coding tutorials in P5.js, as well as maybe trying out other libraries and other languages as well. But starting in July, I will be posting less frequently to allow myself a little bit more room to explore other paths. And one of the paths that I want to explore is actually in the world of physical computing, specifically using an Arduino. And I actually have played around with an Arduino many years ago, but I would consider myself a beginner. So it actually might be interesting to create some content as a beginner and share the process with you guys instead of actually teaching you how to use it. So let's see what I can come up with. I also have a few other ideas, but I would actually be interested to hear what you might find interesting. So make sure to comment down below. Thank you so much for following along in my journey so far and supporting my work. There will be lots of exciting stuff coming your way, so be sure to stick around. And for now, bye!